Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. This passage, Hebrews 11, is what has come to be known as the Hall of Faith. And for sake of time, we won't read all of it, but we see God's people accomplishing mighty things through nothing but faith in who he was and what he said he would do. But then we come into an interesting part of the passage. If you read Hebrews 32 through 40, we see that many of our heroes of the faith did not overcome mightily, but they were brutally persecuted and killed. We think about the prophet Isaiah. He was sawn in half for his testimony for Christ. We look at Paul, the apostle. He was beheaded. We look at James, the lesser. He was beaten to death for preaching. Mark was dragged through the stone streets by horses until his body fell apart. And the question that I have as I read the Hall of Faith, and God is commending these great men for being faithful to him in spite of the hardship. I wonder, was God still God when all of those men were being persecuted and martyred for doing right? These were not men with ill will. These were men serving God, and yet evil things befell them. Paul, penning from a imprisonment that would later end in his public execution, made this statement: being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it till the day of Jesus Christ. You see, Paul understood that though things may not be going his way, things are going exactly the way God needs them to go. You see, the Hall of Faith has to do with faith that God is still who he said he was. Faith that God is still doing what he said he would do. So my question to you this morning is this: is God still good? Is he still faithful to you when others are not? Is he still perfect in his planning when things don't go according to your planning? Is he still good even when circumstances in your life are not good? Do you trust God to be God? You see, if God is not all of those things, then I can lose my mind. If God is not still the God he said he would be, then I can have an episode. But if he's still perfect in his planning and his performing, and his love for me is still perfect, then I need to be faithful to him in my fellowship. I need to be faithful to him in my devotion to him. I wonder this morning, do you trust him to do what he said he would do? There's a song we like to sing. It says, but we never can prove the delight of his love until all on the altar we lay. Until we lay down our will and our plan of how things should be. And we just trust God to be God and then obey him as God. I want to encourage you today to just trust him and obey. We love you, folks. We'll see you tonight at 7.